Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. And thank you for joining the session. And I'm just going to share my screen just now. Hopefully you can see me. My name is Zeki Shelaza. I'm going to be doing the intro for this session. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen and just provide you guys with some house rules so that at least we understand what we are in for today. I'm very much excited, actually. Please advise with the thumbs if you can see my sharing of the screen.
Yes, something's coming.
Yes.
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you and welcome again. It will be a fascinating evening. And thank you for availing yourself. I know you could have spent this time with family because it's family time, right? But we are here. So with that, without further ado, I'm gonna start with a few ground rules. So basically each presentation will be 45 minutes long. You may post your questions in the main chat and we'll basically read them to the presenter when it is time for Q&A. Presentations will be uploaded on the IIBA SA YouTube page found on the link that I'm sharing on the page. Unfortunately, we do not send out the presentation deck. To become a member of the IIBA South Africa, you just need to go on the link that is on the chat or on the screen that I'm currently sharing. And also the benefits thereof of becoming a member, you get access to online library featuring 11,000 plus titles, access to member exclusive webinars, access to PDF publications, articles, industry papers and reports, and opportunity to connect with other members at local or international conferences and chapter events, and exclusive access to global community of BAs, educators, thought leaders, mentors, and coaching. And the added benefit of the finance in these tough times that we're facing, you get to save up 40% on global recognized professional certificates like a CBEP, and also discounts on conference. So those are some of the perks that you get when you're a member, and also you get to see this presentation that we'll be having today, and also many more that we've had previously. And our email address, if you'd like more information, is johannesburg@southafrica.iiba.org. Okay, so to commence with this evening, I'm just gonna start with a bit of story from my side, right? I think ever since the outbreak of the COVID, most of us have brought our work life home. And in the past, for most, work used to be ended work, right? I've personally struggled in separating home life from work. And I found myself, instead of dealing work pressure, I also had to deal home life pressure. Even though my productivity increased because of the blurred lines, I found myself putting more hours than I did when I was at work, which without knowing might lead to burnout, and it led to burnout in my case. But employee burnout is a global concern, and SA is not immune to that impact, not immune to that. A survey done by Monster.com found that 69% of employees are experiencing burnout symptoms whilst working from home or remotely. Also, Deloitte did a survey of over 1,000 respondents. They found that 77% say they have experienced burnout at their current job. And 91% say that unmanageable stress or frustration impacts the quality of their work, and 83% say burnout can negatively impact personal relationships. You might be wondering why I'm telling you about my COVID story and giving you all the stats. This is because today's session, our guest will be taking us through and providing some of the tools and techniques that we can utilize in our lives to avoid or better manage burnout and fatigue in our lives. My name is Zeki Shirenza again, and I'm a volunteer in the IRBA Johannesburg region. And it is my privilege to introduce our guest, Claudia Brandt. Claudia is a world-renowned leadership and team coach, burnout and Enneagram specialist, Enneagram and neuro coach, and also holds masters with Volkswagen University. And also she is also certified by International Coaching Federation of Professional Coaches, ICF, PCC in short, and the Organization of Relationship System Coaching, ORSCC in short. I also heard through the grapevine, Claudia, that you enjoy running at the beach. Hopefully you can join us in future.
Do you run at the beach sometimes?
No, unfortunately, we in Joburg, we don't have it. But when I go and run comrades, I do run at the beach.
Wow.
So you must join us.
Oh my gosh. At the moment, my runs are 5 kilometers, very tame.
No, you just need to practice.
Yes.
Hopefully, I've done justice to your credentials, Claudia. Thank you for availing yourself to share your knowledge and experiences. And to everyone who has joined the session, thank you very much. Over to you, Claudia.
Well, thank you so much for such a warm and lovely welcome. Thank you. It's lovely to be with you. I would be very grateful if we could stop the screen share, and if some of you could open your cameras. It's just so much nicer to speak to people than to speak to black boxes, especially as burnout has a lot to do with us losing our connection with each other and being sort of in these silos. So Zeki, if I could ask you to stop your share, and so that we can see gallery view again, that would be great. Thank you. Yeah, and if some of you could please open your cameras, it's really so much nicer to see people. I know we're all at home. We might not be, very in our working clothes and all made up, but it would be really nice. So the talk is about what leads us into burnout, because I think we all like to think it's external factors. Yes, and external factors trigger us into stress. However, there's also an internal driver that we really need to know and understand. And that is what I'm really going to talk about today, is to help you understand where do we cross from stress into burnout, what drives us from the inside, and how can we change habits or stress management, the way we cope with stress, to avoid burnout. And I'm going to give you tips around that. However, before we start, I would like to hear from a few voices, 3 or 4 people, to just give me an idea, what is your everyday work, and why did you come today? What are you hoping for? What are you hoping to get out of today and our session today? Just, for me to get an orientation of, where do you come from? What is your background? What are you hoping for? What are you hoping to get out of this session? It would be really lovely to hear just from a few people. Great, Roland.
Hi guys.
Hi, it's lovely to hear you opening your mic.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Open my video. Sorry, I was just away a second there.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, were you getting ready to answer my question, Roland, or were you just opening your mic?
Sorry, I was
network.
just opening my mic. Sorry,
Oh,
sorry, guys.
okay,
I even missed the question. Sorry.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I just
But
moved away for a second.
But that's lovely because I hear from one person here, networking, you're here to network. I'd like to become more aware of what could trip me into burnout, learning about tools and techniques, wonderful. That's great. Thank you. Any other voices that would like to contribute in the chat or otherwise? It seems that, okay, so, well, that looks great. So why don't we start? Okay, I have another question because I would love to just hear what is your current understanding of burnout? You know, when you hear burnout, what do you think it is? Or yeah, what is your current understanding of what burnout is? Again, the chat would be fine just to get an idea. I mean, Zeki, you talked about it. How did you think? You know, what made you think this might be burnout for you?
So personally, just to take a step at it, right? So from my experience is that obviously you're not performing at the level that you used to perform before. You easily get irritated, especially with us working remotely and from home as well, with family members, kids being around. So you easily get irritated at them. And your performance at work basically is not what it used to be. So that's what it meant for me.
Yes. Wow, thank you. And there are two more contributions in this chat that also talk about exhaustion. And then Palesa says, burnout for me is when you are overwhelmed and can't cope anymore with your workload. Yeah, the workload is just getting too much. And there's a kind of distance between us. And Vivian says, for me, burnout might mean loss of energy, interest, desire to do anything, both work and personal. Yes, definitely. All that you're saying, what Zeki is saying, what Palesa and Poppy mentioned, and what Vivian says, all of that is burnout. Yes, so let me open my presentation, continue from here. It's just nice to see that you really have a gist of it already. So that is already what I asked. So the definition of burnout, according to the World Health Organization, WHO, is that burnout is a syndrome conceptualized as resulting from chronic workplace strain or stress that has not been successfully managed. That's a nice way of putting it. Huh? It is characterized by three dimensions: feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion. You mentioned that already. Increased mental distance from one's job. I think one of you did say it's like you don't feel like doing anything, you can't relate to things anymore. Or feelings of negativity or cynicism to relate it to one's job. And reduced professional efficacy. That's also what Zeki mentioned and others mentioned, that our productivity is actually very low, or we really have to push ourselves to get there. So burnout refers specifically to phenomena in the occupational and context and should not be applied to describe experiences in other areas of life. So burnout is really related to work stresses. And I loved your introduction, Zeki, when you said it is related to the pandemic and working from home. And that's also my experience, that a lot of my clients, you know, when it all started and we shut down, what happened is that people really wanted to give their best to ensure the survival of their company. And it's that we went a little bit into sort of a catastrophe mode, like this is not normal, life is normal. And we all gave our best and we all worked really very well. And for many of us and for many teams, our productivity was even more and higher. And also our work time got longer because we no longer commute. I think what happened is that we never actually got out of this time of stress or catastrophe or whatever. We are still sort of half in that stressful time of lockdown, and it has never been officially closed down. And also the change, it's quite a change to work from home. We had to battle with stress, we had to battle with sickness, we had to battle with death in the family, many of us. And all these things made it really difficult. And I see a lot of more wonderful comments coming in. Tabo says, so I'm actually burnt out because I'm easily irritated by kids because they call me all day. Yes, we also had to take care of our children all the time. Those who have kids at home, it wasn't just work. We now had to balance that as well with the kids that also need us. Yeah, so it is a very stressful time, and actually there was no real resolution of it. We are in the new normal, and the new normal keeps constantly changing, and change for us as human beings is also just in itself really stressful. So let me go back to screen share. Okay, so what does burnout mean in plain English? I mean, you already said it, you feel really tired, and often we don't sleep well, or we are not rested when we wake up. So even when we sleep, we don't feel altogether refreshed. That tiredness is somehow bone deep. It goes deeper than just physical exhaustion, because physical exhaustion means if I have a good night's rest, and if I eat well, and if I do a bit of my exercise, I'll be fine. So it also means that we are emotionally wrung out. When we're burning out, we emotionally wrung out, and it can be so bad that mind and feelings are so depleted that we stop caring, and that's where that distance comes in. I talked to a young, successful career woman today who said that she actually feels sometimes like she's out of her body. She is really dissociating. It's like the last stage of stress. We can't take it anymore, and we can't care anymore. It's all too much, and we really sort of draw a blank mind, and we're not really present in our body. That's what it feels like. We feel overwhelmed and frustrated really easily when we are so stressed out. It's just becoming more and more normal that that things that we would normally manage easily, they just become mountains, all these little molehills, that we could manage easily in the past. Now, all of a sudden, they're all almost impossible to climb. So our mind sometimes even goes blank. I'm sure you know the feeling that sometimes we can't think of a name, but this gets worse. It's things like, we're not sure if we sent that email already or not, if we told that person already or not, and am I repeating a story here because have I told that person already? It's like it goes blank on things that should actually be not a problem. It should be so easy, we shouldn't have to think about it, and it's just gone. And you're also multilingual, most of you. I think we all in South Africa are multilingual. I'm German speaking at home. And maybe you know that feeling that you get mixed up with your languages, and then in the end, no word comes to you, or it comes in the wrong language, and the mind just comes to a crunching halt, and it cannot find the right word. It just can't think on. Yeah. I already mentioned you might even feel detached from your surroundings when it's getting so bad. And then you might also become quite cynical in your outlook, sort of feeling, it doesn't matter if I do this now, or if I don't do this, it's going to go wrong anyway, and I can't do it anyway. It's like the world just closes in around us because it's all too much. And there is sort of no light at the end of the tunnel. And then, it can get to the point where we just want to be left alone, or we just want to space out. And there's a thin line into depression and also physical sickness when it's really bad, when we really want to just stay in bed because it's just too much. And some of us also get really sick. That happens as well. Okay. So let me just go to the next slide. So what is important to understand is that, yes, the pandemic pushed us, and the pandemic faced us with a lot of problems and a lot of changes. However, what happens is that we go into long-term stress. And burnout comes when we are stressed under physical, psychological stress, when we are under psychological stress for too long. Okay, and that too long means that our body doesn't get out of the stress cycle, because we can all function under stress. But our stress mode is not meant to be a long time solution. It's not meant to be a place that we're in over a long time. So it's almost like our inner stress handling doesn't stop. It keeps on pushing us. The triggers that trigger us into stress keep on pushing us, and they keep pushing us beyond our physical, mental, and emotional boundaries. And often, well, normally we don't catch that. We think this is just for a short while longer. We can manage that. We are okay. We just have to push for a bit longer, and it will get better. I'm on the right track. I just have to keep on going. And also, I'm powerless. I have no energy to change this, so I'll just trudge on. And all the time we get deeper and deeper into this hole of having no energy. And there's a part of us that keeps on pushing when actually our warning signals should have all lit up to say, this is actually too much. We've crossed the lines here, and we need to find another way of dealing with this, because it's us. We are responsible for how we deal with our stress, and we need to wake up. It's almost like that this ongoing stress is doing something to us, like the story of the frog in the milk, that, you know, it gets warmer and warmer and warmer, and the frog doesn't get out. It doesn't notice that it's getting too hot. So it's similar to that. It's that feeling of, I'm still in control, I'm still okay, and I just have to keep on a little bit longer, and I have to keep on going so that it gets better. I'm now going to show you how this really works by looking at the 3 main stress drivers. And this is hugely simplified because we've only got, 45 minutes, half an hour to go through this talk. So this is really simplified. So one of our 3 main drivers that drive us to deal with stress and to handle everyday life is the need for successful action. Okay. And if that is a main drive, I call it the red energy. It's that red energy of getting things done and being confident and always having a solution and taking charge and telling people what to do. And there's a lot of urgency and push and energy in this red driver that is always looking for success and action and getting things done. And that red driver loves to prove itself. It loves even resistance and challenge to just overcome them. And it grabs opportunities and it sees possibilities. And there's lots of energy, and other people often love that. They go with this red energy. They're also energized and enthused by it. So the red energy in us loves to keep things going, and it loves to push and do this for a bit longer. And you also see in the stance of that lady, there's confidence and challenge and come on, bring it on. I can take this. So that is this red burnout driver. So as the red driver in us pushes and pushes and pushes, and it often happens that then the resistance gets bigger, or it feels deserted by others, or it feels it has to do it all alone, or it feels it has to take on everything. It feels that I have to do it because the other people are so quiet. and it just takes on more and more and pushes harder. And also in the way the red energy pushes, it can be intimidating and overwhelming to others because they're always so sure, you know, that red energy is so sure and so confident and we'll do this. And so you can see that there are a lot of great qualities with this driver, with this burnout driver. However, if I, in stress situation, keep on pushing this way, that I take on a lot, that I take people with me, that I tell people what to do, people will also turn away, or things will get too much. I will take on too much. And at some point I will run out of energy, but I always feel I just have to keep on pushing a little bit longer, because then it will work. It will work out. I would love to see a few faces of this, if this is making sense, or maybe a thumbs up or something, because I'm talking to a black screen. That's really weird. Okay, Karen's hand is raised. I would love to hear from Karen. And Karin Krobela. Yeah, is that a question, or is just to say it's fine? Lesero, can you tell me if that is just a thumbs up or if there's a question?
We will allow her to speak so that
that would be
so
lovely.
We've asked her to unmute.
Great.
That she can, yes.
Oh, wonderful. I would love that. Thank you, Karen. Or Karine, I'm not sure.
But for me, I would say that it makes perfect sense. So
oh, great. You can relate to that energy. We all have a little bit of that energy, but when it's our main driver, yeah, you can see how it keeps on pushing and taking on more, and feeling I just need to do a little bit more to make it all work. Yes. Karin, did you want to ask a question? No. Okay, so I'll keep on. So of the three main drivers, the main burnout drivers, the red driver is the one that is asking for action, that is feeling urgency, that is really wanting to get things done, and it keeps on pushing and pushing and pushing. And the more stressful it gets, it pushes harder to move more, to get through. And on the way, this red energy can antagonize and intimidate people and feel alone and even betrayed, and actually become too forceful. The more stressed it is, the more forceful and sure and confident it becomes, and pushes other people as well. And it becomes even more stressed and more forceful. And you can see where this is going. Okay. Lots of beautiful qualities that this driver brings, but in stressful times, it gets lost in its own need to generate action and push against all resistance and take on more and more and more. Okay. I can't see the chat. I'm just wondering if I could, to see if there are any questions. Okay, let me go on. So what this red energy needs to do is completely counterintuitive. To escape this trap, it actually needs to accept its own limits. And when the red energy is stressed, that is often the last thought that the red energy has. It just wants to keep on pushing, but it needs to accept its own limits and also limits of people around it. So it's really difficult to do that. So it needs to accept its own limits. That energy needs to slow down, and it needs to share the load, take others on board, share the load, and just also allow itself that vulnerability of slowing down, that possibility of things going wrong, but actually sharing the load and bringing others in to not make it happen. So this red energy in us needs to actually become more compassionate of itself and what it can actually do, and compassionate of others that I may be pushing too hard, asking too much. I am too direct, I am too demanding, I'm actually pushing people away when I want to pull them in. So that energy needs to have more compassion with itself in driving itself so hard, and also with others in believing in them, that others can also do work and that they can help and make a contribution. And also often that red energy profits a lot from just stopping to think, because our red energy just likes to go into action. So if something goes wrong, I'll try something else. If something isn't working, I try something else. So red energy is really about action and success and just trying, keeping going. Okay, now the second energy I call the yellow energy, and that is our need for love, connection, companionship. It's that energy between people. And it has a lot of beautiful qualities, just like the red energy, in bringing people together, in understanding needs, and being the glue between people, in being there for others, being intuitive, having these conversations that build networks, that bring teams together, create team spirit. So the yellow energy is really about the heart space, about the space between people. And how the yellow energy burns out is that it feels it must be there for others. I need to be there for others. I need to see what they need. I'm going to help out. I'm going to do whatever I can to make everybody feel comfortable and at ease, because I also don't like disharmony. I don't like fighting. I don't like to feel that people are getting left behind. So my credo is, as a yellow, in this yellow energy, is the more I do for others, the more I am loved and appreciated, the more I'm liked, and that is worth everything to me. So as I get stressed, I do more and more and more for others, but I'm actually also hoping for payback. That, payback, it's a brownie point system in a way, that somebody will pat me on the shoulder and say how well I'm doing and what a wonderful person I am, and thank you so much, because that's what I'm doing for everybody else, and can somebody please do this for me? But since that often doesn't happen, I just keep on doing more. I keep on giving. I keep on taking on work. I keep on becoming indispensable, really needed, because people must then see, how valuable I am. So that yellow energy in us is wanting to be loved, wanting to be needed. It's wanting to be seen as somebody of value by everybody else. And the less feedback I'm getting that I am of value and that I am of assistance, the more I keep pushing, and people around that yellow person, they often don't see that, because this energy is also incredibly competent. So they're not doormats. If you think this yellow energy is a doormat, that's not true. Competent, they get things done, they're friendly, they're empathic, everybody loves to talk to them. However, they're often not seen as needing anything from anyone, but actually that energy does need something from others. It does need help and support just as well, but it always feels I first need to deserve it and earn it, because I don't feel that I'm valuable enough. But the more I do, the more competent I come across, the less I'm getting this feedback. So I go into burnout looking for that support that I'm giving and that I feel I'm not getting back. So the antidote here is admitting to my own needs and filling my own cup first. So in this yellow energy, in this yellow drive, I depend on others to fill my cup, to satisfy my needs, to give me a feeling of self-worth, to feel lovable and worthy. But I need to take myself, to help myself first in order to give from my cup. I need to start saying no to others. I need to start saying no to things that I really don't need to do, because they don't actually belong into my job description, but that I sort of slowly do for others because, they ask me and I'm good at it and I can do it quickly, and I just keep expanding my workload. And I need to start asking for help. And I love the cat here because, if you think of a cat, they really take care of themselves first. They're nice for a snuggle and they like to come to your lap, but you know, that's when their time is right and when they have everything they need. And they also like to get a little bit from you, but you know, they're quite contained and they can also say no and purr and say, no, I don't need you. I can do my own thing. And I'm not saying that the yellow driver, the yellow burnout push should be independent of others, but there needs to be that sense of self-worth and self-love that enables me to fill my cup first and then give to others from a full cup. And then I don't burn out because I don't need others' approval and acknowledgement in order to be okay. I can just limit my workload to what I can do, and I can have negotiations around that. I can say no, and I can ask for help. Okay, so now we're going to the third one, and it's the last one. It's our need for safety. So that is mostly happening in our thinking. So we want to be safe by understanding everything. We want to be ready for everything. We want to see a purpose. We want to make sense of things. And then we feel we can be safe. So the blue energy is a very analytical energy. It's a thinking energy. It's an energy that is very clear on values and integrity. It's sort of the part of us that observes the world and that stands back and looks like a researcher here. And the blue energy is also very sort of, you know, we actually like to be in our own bubbles when we go into this thinking process. We like to be independent. We don't want to depend on others because, again, that makes us unsafe. So the blue energy is very held back. It's very withdrawn. So the classic nerd, so to speak, is often seen as a blue person. And how this blue energy drives itself into burnout is it sort of starts seeing problems and dangers everywhere. It doesn't feel that it's ever ready to go out and do things. It feels there's always something else I need to look at, something else I need to understand. And then I start looking for problems and dangers and I see them everywhere. So I really go into a freeze, into a procrastination, into a state where I'm getting really anxious and overwhelmed. I mean, the yellow also, I mean, all these three qualities become, with these three drivers, go into overwhelm, whereas the red one goes more into anger and frustration. The yellow goes more into overwhelm and resentment, and the blue goes into anxiety and needing to really needing a distance from the world, wanting to almost go away from the world. And what gets to the blue energy, what drives it into burnout, is a constant feeling of self-doubt, of never being sure, of the world being ambiguous and in chaos, and I can never understand it, I can never make sense of it, and it's never safe. So that blue energy is an energy that, again, has a lot of gifts. All of them have a lot of gifts, but when we get stuck in that energy, it drives us into burnout, into depression, into all of them can drive us into depression, into that feeling of being so exposed and not ready for the world. And the antidote here for the blue energy that can drive us into burnout is starting to trust ourselves and our own judgments. Knowing that I've researched it and I know enough and I am okay. And then starting to trust others, that they know what they're doing. I don't have to, you know, test everything that somebody else says. I don't have to be suspicious. I don't have to be proven again or prove myself as trustworthy, and others don't need to prove themselves as trustworthy all the time. It's okay. And I can get ready to go into action. It can be such a relief when we're stuck in the blue pattern to go into action. I'm sure there are a lot of questions. I hope there are. Because it's going very fast. So how we can see that somebody is in a red energy is you can see that energy, you can see the confidence, there's a strong voice and there's always drive and demands and let's do this and this is how we do it. The yellow energy is much more sing-song and storytelling, and the head goes from one side to the other, and it tells long stories. So when we're in the office, the yellow people or the yellow drive wants to know about the weekend and how your dog is doing, and if you had a nice birthday. And the blue energy is very monotone, very quiet. It's often people that you don't hear a lot about. They are the people that have these long conversations in the kitchen during parties. You know, they're not out there on the floor dancing, but they find one other person and they have one big subject that they talk about, and they go into it in depth. And so we all have all three energies, but it's usually one of them that is strongest in us. And that is what we need to understand, you know, what drives us and where do we miss it when we're driving ourselves so hard, we are so stressed out that it becomes impossible to stop pushing as a red. It becomes impossible to stop giving as a yellow, and it becomes impossible to stop thinking and being stuck as a blue. So how do you avoid burnout? First of all, be honest with yourself. If you have symptoms, if you show symptoms, think about, where am I pushing myself too hard? Where is my driver getting away from me? Where do I need to admit that I don't have this, that I can't go on like this? Then understand what drives you. You need to know what drives you so it doesn't take over. It almost takes over. Burnout becomes almost like a part of us that takes the steering wheel and keeps on pushing, and it keeps on pushing us with this fear, this underlying fear of not getting things done, of not being good enough, of not being lovable, and of never being able to be safe if I don't keep on pushing. Then catch your downward spiral, know when you're going in, crossing the lines, and learn new behaviors and habits. And these behaviors and habits, they will always feel wrong because they go against the driver that keeps on pushing. They will feel counterintuitive, and there will be conscious decisions, because what drives us into burnout is not what's going to get us out of it. Its promise that it's going to save us doesn't hold true. You need to understand that what drives us in needs to be moderated. It needs to be pulled back, and it's counterintuitive, and it's often not where you think that the answer lies. I'm just thinking, what is the time? Okay, I need to get to a close. Yeah, so I am wondering, understand burnout because it gets you. You know, that driver gets you. It understands you and it gets you into burnout. So how do you read the title now? And what are your questions? So that's from me, and I'm waiting for the questions. I'll stop sharing now. Great. Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm seeing here that is it normal that a person has all these burnout drivers? Yes, we can experience all these burnout drivers, but maybe one of them is strongest, but it can absolutely happen that you are aware of all three drivers driving you. It can also be that more than one of these energies is dominant. It can well be, I mean, often it's one is strongest and then there's a second strongest and the third strongest, but it can also be that two of them are equally strong, and you will know because you might have a lot of conversations between these two colors. For example, if your yellow driver is strong and the red one is strong, you know, that you often feel, oh gosh, I'm being far too dominant, and yeah, but you should keep on helping. And you know, that it's almost like a conversation. Yes, and the trick is, as Karen says, is to recognize when you're in the downward spiral. It sometimes creeps up on you, absolutely. And you recognize it too late. So, but you can grow your awareness of it. You get better and better at recognizing your personal red flags that you're crossing the line. How do I unmute? Yeah, Karen, I can't help you there. I hope that our panel can help you.
I'll be able to assist her. So I've given her
Okay.
the access to, yes, to get unmuted. Karen,
Yeah.
Karen, perhaps you can say something.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So
Yes.
I think I approached burnout, I think it was in that first year of COVID towards the end, because I just had too much on my plate. And as you said, that line between work and home just blurred. I was working 15-hour days, 7 days a week, typically.
Oh my.
So it really did, as I said in the chat there, it just crept up on me. And the next thing I knew, I was in this state that you explained, where you have no filters, you get irritated, you get upset easily, all of those things. But one of the most difficult things I found was trying to explain how you feel to your superiors. They were the ones who were piling on the work. And it almost sounds pathetic, you know, when you say, it's too much, I can't handle it. And you kind of don't want to say it. So it was difficult for me to articulate it, to be able to explain it to the people who were responsible for getting me in that space.
Yes. Yes. It takes a lot of courage to actually stand up for ourselves and say, this is too much. And you see, Karen, what happens is that a whole system can go into burnout, especially under our circumstances that we are suffering from during lockdown. I'm sure that your bosses were also battling with it. And there was that fear of survival breathing down our necks. You know, how is our economy going to respond? Are we going to survive? It was really tough. And it's really also important to see that even when we see these symptoms for ourselves, within the system, they might be so dominant. So within the team, within the organization, they might be so dominant that it takes a lot of courage to start the conversation and stand up. And just to say, this is not sustainable. We cannot go on like this. It's just not possible. But I think it's becoming more and more a conversation that we need to have, that we really need to have in our world, in our communities, in our companies.
Yeah, I think it's a transition that's, you know, for companies as well.
Yes. Yes, and also to understand that our new normal means we can't go on working 15-hour days, and we can't have that raised productivity forever. We all made it possible because we had to, but you know, and there's a lot of relief in being able to work from home. Some things become easier, but we can't uphold that level. It's just physically impossible. It needs to become a normal level again. We can't work at 120%. We can work at 70 to 80% sustainably.
Okay.
And then put in spurts every now and again. Yes, but Karen, you're right. It's a huge topic, and it doesn't just sit with individuals. It actually also sits with the system, and it needs a lot of awareness within ourselves and within the system to deal with it. And I think part of the big resignation that people talk about is people wanting to escape this pressure.
And does it help to learn how to effectively set boundaries, I guess?
Yes.
Which I'm not good at.
Yes, it's tough, you know, as you say, it's very tough to stand up and have that courage. And there are methods and ways of doing that, you know, learning to say no, and also being, first of all, honest with ourselves, that I need to say no now. And there also needs to be a certain level of psychological safety or trust in the teams to have these conversations and redistribute work or set more realistic timelines. So it's a whole discussion, and setting boundaries as a person, as a team, as a company is necessary, absolutely, and it can be learned. Yeah. Any more questions? These were great questions from Karen. Yes, Roland is asking, as much as it's a personal responsibility to avoid burnout, are there measures that companies can take to assist employees? You see, one of the most important things is within a company to have those trust levels in teams between teams and their leaders, between leadership and employees, where we are able to voice these things. And it's becoming more and more clear and apparent that culture, that the climate and the culture in a company is so much more important for true sustainable success than all the other skills and management skills that we talk about all the time. Working together as strong teams, having these honest conversations is really what enables us to meet our increasing challenges. And there are challenges of workloads, there are challenges of a volatile, complex, and unpredictable environment out there. And all of that is costing us burnout at the moment. And it's needing for us to be more connected and more trusting, build trust, and have more of these real conversations that lead to real agreements and sustainable agreements that people can really commit to and then also keep. So there needs to be a real awareness of burnout, that it is a reality. There needs to be the possibility to actually talk about it without being shamed. And there needs to be the possibility to set boundaries, as Karen said, also as a team and as a company, of what is possible, and find solutions for what can and cannot be done and in which ways in the teams. Does that answer your question, Roland? I don't know. I don't think I'm getting your name right. Yeah, experimenting with the 4-day week, would be great. Again, during the 4 days, the workload still needs to be realistic. We can't work at 150% during 4 days and then just catch our breath during 3 days and do the whole thing all over again. It all needs to come into balance, like our gifts that we bring with each of these energies. They need to come into balance. It's great to be confident and push and have urgency, but it needs to be balanced. It's great to give and share and help and connect people. But again, if it comes from the wrong need of needing to be needed, it's not healthy. It needs to come into balance. And the blue energy of looking for safety by isolating ourselves, by needing to understand, by just wanting to observe and draw back, great gifts, lots of analytical thinking, risk assessment. But if it's overdone, it draws us into self-doubt and depression and seeing dangers and problems everywhere. It needs to be in balance again. Yes, Roland says it's answered his question. Yes, Ziki.
Hi, Claudia, again.
Yeah.
I'm mindful that we only have 2 minutes left, right? So I think I just want to pose a last question, most probably.
Yes.
So I see that we obviously have 3 drivers, red, yellow, and the blue one.
Yes.
Is there any reason why we don't have the green one?
Okay, yes. I didn't want to talk so much about the system. The system is called Personality ABC. I use it a lot because it's intuitively understood by people. So it's not the DISC system. The DISC has the green system, the green one on top. This just works with the 3, which is yellow feeling, the yellow need for love, blue thinking, the blue need for safety, and red action and the red need for moving things, the need for urgency in getting things done. And it's called on Karen Horney, and it's called Personality ABC. However, in my burnout work, in my one-on-one work, I work with the Enneagram because it identifies our driver, our motivation much more exactly, and it really helps us understand what drives that and creates a lot of awareness, as Karen says, to see the red flags earlier, to understand when I'm doing that, and then learn the tools and learn the dynamics that bring us back towards health. So I offer burnout coaching, I offer burnout group sessions, and they're all based on the Enneagram. Yeah. Oh, Liesel says she found it extremely informative. Thank you so much. I'm glad it was helpful.
Yes, it really was. Thank you. From me too.
Great. Thank you, Karen. Great. Yeah, you can find me at brunt-coaching.coza, and I offer team and leadership coaching. I'm a burnout and Enneagram specialist, and I also work with teams and systems that are hit by burnout to have these discussions. Actually, next week I'm working with a team in Jakarta. It's going to be so interesting because there's also such a different culture. And I'm so curious to find out how is that culture supporting burnout or healing from burnout for that matter. So it's also much related to culture.
Yeah.
Okay. No, thanks, Claudia. Thanks for that. I think it's Vivian that's just said that it was very informative. We really learned a lot, even though
Great.
it was. You felt like you could go on for 2 hours, right?
Yes, I could. I know. It's terrible. I'm sorry. I hope I got the gist across. Yes.
Agreed. So I'm not sure. Obviously, you just mentioned in terms of where the guys can find you. Obviously, from our side, if they want more information, then they can email our email address from our side as well. So I'm just going to share the last slide so that at least the guys can be informed in terms of
thank you.
further information on how to get hold of you. Then they can get hold of you via that platform. So thank you very much, Claudia. And
thank you.
We appreciate it. It was very informative. It really taught us a lot.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for all that beautiful feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, without further ado, I know you guys, most of you want to basically go spend time with the family, eat dinner. Apologies about that again. So basically, guys, just to remind you, I'm not sure if you can see my screen.
We can.
Yes, I can. Yes.
Okay. Just a reminder that this presentation obviously will be uploaded on the IIBA-SH YouTube page. It is found on the link that is on the that I'm currently sharing. So also, obviously, to become a member, you can always go to the link that I'm sharing as well. And if you'd like to present a tool or technique to the community, you are more than welcome to email us at johannesburg@southafrica.iiba.org. And if you're studying towards your IIBA certification and would like to join a study group, you can contact us on the email address, which is membership@iiba.org. Yeah, so that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining this session. It was very informative. Thank you again, Claudia. I'm sure you'll be getting a lot of feedback from the team and the community wanting to get hold of you. Thank you for that.
I would love to hear from you.
Thanks, Claudia. Okay, cheers, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Great. Is it only the panelists who are left now? Great. Okay, I'm glad it went so well, and I'll see you another time maybe.
Thanks, Claudia.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think sure.